What's up guys, Marcus here from Studio One Expert, and today I wanted to have a look at improving the parity between the console and the arrange window when working with VST multi-out instruments. So I've got an instance of EZdrummer here, and as you can see in the mixer, I've got it mapped out so that our kick, snare, hi-hats, toms, overhead, ambience, compression, and reverb, they're all going out to a separate stereo output. So what my goal is here is I want to be able to control everything in the mixer on a fader in the console, but I also want to be able to see it in the arrange window, just for parity purposes or whatever the case is. That's just what my end goal is going to be. So the first step here is, as I'm sure most of you know, we can click this tab over here, which enables us to activate these channels over here in the console. And then as you can see, we have access to each one of these faders here is controlling, a different element of the drums here. And that's based upon what we've mapped things out to in EZdrummer. So I've got everything mapped out 1 to 8 here. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and press play really quickly. Okay, so that's all well and good, but let's say that I want to be able to see everything in my arrange window. How do we go about doing that? Okay, well, it's pretty simple actually. All we have to do is right-click these faders, and then I can just click Edit Volume Automation. So now I've added all of these automation lanes or automation envelopes, but as of the last update that we had in Studio One, we now have access to our channel inserts and our sends and everything on the side when we have the inspector open. So these tracks, when I'm selecting them in the arrange window, they're representing the mixer view as well. So for instance, if I was to go into my effects over here and I was to drag an EQ on here, you can see that when I select this channel over here, it has that EQ on it. All right, so that's the basics. If you just want to really quickly mult out your instrument and be able to have access to things like, volume automation, or to be able to work, let's say, with the console closed and work with the inspector open, but still be able to have access to plugins and sends, that's going to work for you. Okay, so let's take this a step further. Let's say that I wanted to have a look at making the names work better. Well, this is pretty simple. All we need to do here is I would go ahead and I could open up the plugin over here, and I would just basically match these track names. So I'm going to go ahead and do that in both the arrange window, and I'll make sure that I do these as well. Because one thing you'll notice here is that even when I do things like, let's just do the kick for now, and let's do the snare, you can see that it still has this name over here, EZ2. So what I would actually have to do is copy this and bring this into here. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and do that, and I'll catch up with you in a minute. Okay, so I've gone ahead and I've renamed all my tracks in both the arrange window and my console. So now everything is matching perfectly. Now, I know what a lot of you are thinking. There's a lot of people out there going, well, we have explode to pitches, and then we can transform to rendered audio, and then we can have that awesome hybrid audio track that has the MIDI behind it, and then we can transform it back. And that's fine. If you want to do that, that's perfectly fine. But this video is for people who want to leave things in MIDI and be able to have access to all of the tracks, both in the arrange window and the console, and maintain a perfect parity between their session. Now, the other benefit of this type of workflow is that we could very easily add things like we could add a plugin across everything. We could do some pre-processing on this, and then we could very easily bounce these out as stems and bring them right back into the session. And then, of course, all we'd have to do is deactivate the instrument and hide these tracks here if we ever needed to make any changes. So let's go over an example of how to do that. I'm on a Mac here. I'm going to hold down Shift-Command-E. That'd be Shift-Control-E on a PC. I want to make sure that I choose channels. Channels is what represents in the console. Tracks would be what's on the arrange window here. So, and these are actually automation lanes, so they're not showing up in tracks. So we're going to go ahead and click channels. I'm going to get rid of the file name prefix, and I'm going to make sure that I have wave 2448 between loop, and I want to import back into my tracks. So I could go ahead and do that now. Okay, so there we go. Those tracks have come back in there. And now what I could do is I could just disable EZdrummer, take all of these tracks over here. I've got a shortcut to hide them. And then I can just, change the color to whatever I want over here, We'll go with this nice color over here. And now I have all these tracks available as stems. And if I had any processing, that would be rendered into the stems. But if at any given point in time, I wanted to make any changes, I could simply highlight these, mute them, hide them, bring back my MIDI, reactivate the instrument, and I still have these files over here. So anyways, that's some tips on how to get a better parity between the arrange window and the console when you're working with VSTs where you've enabled multi-outs. Anyways, I hope you guys got something from this, and we'll talk to you later. Cheers.